it'll be available to you. So yes, hi, I'm Melanie, and just to give you just a little background about me, so I worked at the Canadian Mental Health Association for 11 years as a frontline worker, and I then started teaching part-time at Cambrian and CTS in 2017 while still at CMHA. And then in 2018, I got hired on at Cambrian full-time for this program. And I'm currently just finishing up my Master's of Education. So I am specializing in post-secondary studies. So I take a lot of the learning from that program and applying it to the learning activities I do with this program. And then of course, I incorporate a lot of my experiences and the connections that I've made over the years in the field in this particular program. So just to give you a quick overview, what exactly is navigation? It's not necessarily a term that is as widespread as something like mental health and addictions. However, navigation does include mental health and addictions as well as many other categories. So I have a picture of the word life here, and it's meant to represent how life can feel like a maze. Life can feel really complicated, really complex, but then when you add in all of these different systems, healthcare, developmental disabilities, and then you add in on top of that different populations. So we'll have children, youth, older adults, all the different systems have different ways of providing services, and oftentimes the systems are very disconnected. So the healthcare system's over here doing its thing, social welfare systems over here doing its thing, and then even within those systems, there can be a lack of communication, even amongst agencies. So a navigator is sort of like the glue that holds everybody together in the care team. And this might involve sticking to a particular system. It might involve working amongst various systems. But what the navigator does is they wear many, many hats. And it's a difficult program to talk about, I find, because I need time to talk about it because there's so many components. So it's hard to very quickly summarize the program because there's so much potential in it. And that's why I especially appreciate the time here today. So one of the things too to keep in mind when we hear the term navigation, this can also refer to things like care coordination, case manager. There's so many different possibilities. And there's also the possibility for lay navigators. So if you've had experience in the legal system and you've gone through all sorts of barriers and you've figured out how to overcome those barriers, you're probably more knowledgeable than a lot of professionals. So there are opportunities for people with lived experience to get employed roles as navigators. There's also opportunities for private navigator businesses. And then of course, there is navigation embedded throughout many different systems and not necessarily under the name navigation. So just to give you a sense of delivery options, the program is offered in what's called high flex delivery. So that means it's a mix of hybrid delivery options and it's flexible. So when the pandemic wasn't happening, there is the on-campus option. There's also the synchronous option, which we're doing right now, and then the asynchronous option, which will be the recording being available to you afterwards. And the extra exciting thing about the program is you can switch between these methods of delivery. So you can decide one day, yeah, I'm going to attend the class at the scheduled time online. And then the next week you might be busy with work or childcare, and you might decide, no, I'm going to catch up watching the recording. So I've had students who, and I currently have students actually, who are as far as Windsor, Ontario. So it's okay if you're not in Sudbury, you can take this from across the province. And I've also had students who have successfully completed the program full-time while also working full-time. The nice thing for you as gerontology graduates to be, you will have a reduced workload. So I'll go over that so you would understand which courses you would not have to take. But it is encouraging that it is possible, it's doable, it's a lot of work, but it is possible to work full-time and do the program full-time, but there are also part-time options. The program start date is September, although if you are looking to start like in the January start date, that is something we can possibly accommodate. It's just not officially advertised in that way. So I'm going to just go over this infographic with you. And I've summarized the delivery options just to let you know what the entry requirements are, which is at the top in the middle. You just need a diploma or degree. It doesn't matter what it's in, as long as you have a diploma or degree. And if you're an international student, there might be a requirement for proof of English. So in regards to the degree being anything, I wanted to just kind of make a note about how I've had students with such varied backgrounds. So I've had students who have come in with a microchemistry degree and then who are completely new to the helping field. And then I've also had students who've brought to the table 40 plus years of nursing experience. And the program is really unique in that it's able to accommodate people who are completely new to helping field and people who have been in the helping field. So I'm very student-centered. I incorporate a lot of student choice. I also will tailor curriculum as long as it's still aligning with learning outcomes. I will tailor the curriculum to student needs. So there's a lot of flexibility and creativity that's built into the program. So you can kind of make it your own. You do have the option of getting certifications in various trainings that are very valued within the employment system. However, because there are fees involved, I also have alternative options if you aren't looking to get certified, so it's not a requirement. For semester 1 and 2, you would, as gerontology graduates, you would not have to take, for semester 1, you would not have to take the communication course, and you would not have to take the, I believe it's the social determinants of health course. I'm just gonna, I'll double check that, but there's two in semester 1 that you do not have to take, and semester 2, you do not have to take ethics and the dementia course. So that means you'll automatically have a lighter course load. So semester 1, you would be taking 4 courses, and semester 2, you would be taking, so you'd be taking 3. And then for the third semester is shorter. It's only 6 weeks. And there is the option to do a placement or a capstone project. And if you do the placement option, with the pandemic, we had to shift gears. And so I was able to establish various virtual placements. I also have become really creative with figuring all this out. So you might have a mix of multiple placements. You might do one for a few hours at an agency that is able to have you on site. You might do a portion of it online. And then there's also the option to do a capstone project. So an example of a capstone project would be one of my students who has a nursing background, or she's now a graduate of the program. So she, because of all her experience in the field, she didn't want to do the field placement. It was more meaningful to her to do the project. So she spent that period of time, the 6 weeks, working on a private navigation guidebook, because she would like to eventually have her own private navigation business. And so this was something that she was passionate about, and then I incorporated different assignments, different networking opportunities throughout. So again, right from semester 1 through to semester 3, you will have a lot of opportunities to really make the program your own. This is also going to all be available to you afterwards. You'll have access to the infographic, and I'll also, at the end of this presentation, I'll double check to make sure. I always get mixed up between whether it's Indigenous perspectives in care or the social determinants of health, but I know for sure that you don't have to take the communication course, the ethics course, or the dementia course. And then you'll notice on the right-hand side, there are some sample topics that are associated with each course. And the intention of the program really is to give you a generalist overview of all sorts of different systems with skills that can transfer across different systems so that wherever you end up working, you will be able to pull from your learning in the program and use that to benefit where you're working. So I talked about the placement and capstone. The other thing that's a kind of a fun highlight about the program is we have a lot of guest speakers from across the entire province. So I really try to help you develop your professional networks. I try to make sure that students are as up to date in the field as possible. And for assignments, I try to do interactive as much as I can. So I do simulations. And what I mean by that is for an assignment, you would work through a slideshow, but within the slideshow, there would be videos that are embedded. And this is an example video. It's really, really quick. And it's just to give you an idea of what the interaction would be like as the student participating in the assignment. So as a student, you'd be taking on the perspective of a patient accessing services, and you'd be instructed to do the different tasks that are incorporated throughout the slides. So as an example, you would press play and we'll just listen to what the doctor says. Oh, no, that didn't work. Let's try that again.
All right, so what brings you in today?
So for some reason that didn't play for anyone, the doctor just said, okay, so what brings you in today? So this is actually one of my colleagues who's pretending to be a doctor. This is some footage that we've filmed. I've also filmed footage within the mock jail cells that we have at the college to create simulations of the justice system. And so in these simulations, the student would be instructed to actually respond out loud. Whether or not you actually do, that's up to you. But if you really want to try to kind of immerse yourself in the experience, it would be to actually interact with the doctor. And then you would be doing different tasks throughout, reflecting on the experience afterwards. And the reason I like to do these simulations is because I find it takes the learning to a deeper level. A lot of the time, students will tell me, you know, I understood what navigation's all about, but it wasn't until I did that simulation that I really got it. Like I really started to understand how a navigator can be so helpful for people. And then these are some examples of employment. The person on the top right, so she's actually a graduate of Laurentian's gerontology program, and she got hired on at Health Sciences North. I have another graduate who isn't featured on this slide, but she also is working at Health Sciences North as the patient flow supervisor. And a student who was working at John Howard Society as the homelessness diversion coordinator. I have somebody who's working with Ontario 211. So if you're not familiar with it, it is a provincial database of all sorts of resources, resources for older adults, resources related to food, resources related to finance. And you can either use the chat system and speak to a navigator and type with the navigator, or you can call and talk to a navigator. And they help in finding resources that are unique to your area and based on your needs. I have someone who's working as a caseworker at Ontario Disability Support Program. I had somebody who ended up getting hired as an addiction worker at Monarch Recovery. March of Dimes has also hired students, and the Local Health Integration Network. So these are just some examples of the variety of jobs that are available to you. And if we look at it at a provincial level, these are other possibilities. So even within educational institutions, they are starting to incorporate navigators into their work. And definitely within the older adult population, there is a definite need for navigators, especially with things like navigating long-term care. The LIN, with the LIN, you'll also hear the term care coordinator more often than not. But there is so much potential. And so when you have your degree, but then you also have the specialization in navigation, it helps to give you a bit of that competitive edge. I also have a link here that I'll just show you one clip. I want to show you the clip of the graduate from your program. But these are different video testimonials. So I have some from students from the first offering of the program, the second offering, and I'm currently going to start collecting testimonials from students who are currently doing the program, 2 of which are graduates from your program. So that's something, if you check back periodically with this link, you'll get to see some additional testimonials. So I will show you that. The other link that you're going to have access to is sort of like this online magazine I created, where it features a bunch of written testimonials from graduates. So depending on whether you prefer watching a video or reading about an experience, there are different ways that you can learn more about the program directly from the students as opposed to listening to me talk about it. And then my email address is here, my phone number is here, and I have a professional Instagram account. So Profligate Mel, it's meant to mean I'm a professor, but I'm also an advocate. So I kind of smush those words together. And it's my way of trying to promote the program, share sort of little snippets and previews of what we do in the program. And also it represents my advocacy in regards to mental health. So these are just different ways that you can stay in touch with me and connect with me if you would like to. So I'm going to play the video of the gerontology graduate for you.
Hi, my name is Tony, and I'm a graduate from the gerontology program at Laurentian University. The thing that I like most about the Community and Health Services Navigation program is that it has a unique and creative way of teaching and preparing us for working in the field. Last semester, we led and participated in a mock care conference which exposed us to situations we would likely encounter in the field. I would highly recommend this program to anyone who is interested in taking it.
So if you do check out this link, there is a drop-down menu here. You'll see that there's 3 different topics, and you can look at from the first cohort, the second cohort, but then the current cohort, I don't yet have the videos uploaded or made. So these, you can all check them out. So I ask the students to share their name, their educational background, and then something that they like about the program. So you can kind of get a sense of not only the variety of backgrounds, but what they enjoy and what they find most valuable about the program. And then this is the magazine that I mentioned. And again, I've got consent from all students in sharing this, which I'm really grateful for. And so you can meet all of the different students, get a little more of a sense of their background, and get a little more perspective from that student lens as to what you can expect in the program. And then this is the professional Instagram account where my most recent post, I'm upside down. And this was celebrating Cambrian first week. So this was me taking a break from teaching and working and doing some yoga and headstands. You'll also see here, there's a video of one of my students, and this is an example of the poverty challenge simulation that is available in the program. And so you can just kind of get more of a preview and sampling of all of the different things that are available. And then of course the website, which you may or may not have already checked out. And this gives you a nice kind of overview of what you can expect in the program. A lot of it are things that I have covered, but if at any point you wanted to chat about something more or you have clarification questions, I'm happy to answer those now, but I'm also happy to stay in touch with people on a one-on-one basis if you have something you want to chat with me about more individually. So that's what I wanted to share for now. I'm just going to stop my share for a second because I just need to verify the courses that you don't have to take. I just want to make sure I'm getting you that correct information. So just give me 1 second here. Okay, so you would not have to take the communication course, as I mentioned, and you would not have to take social determinants of health. So I'll go back and share my screen just a second, just to show you. That's actually this one. Okay, so for semester 1, you would not have to take communication, you wouldn't have to take social determinants of health, and then that leaves you with the 4 courses. So with that being said, however, depending on your personal educational journey and maybe what electives you've taken or any previous education that you've taken, it is possible that you might be eligible for additional transfer credits, and that would be something that we would chat about on a one-on-one basis. So that's what I wanted to share in regards to my overview, and I'm now very much open to taking any questions if people have anything they're curious about.
Thank you very much, Melanie. I think the chat window is starting to light up, so I can read them out to you if you want, and then you could perhaps respond. So Rebecca is asking, is this program beneficial for those that do not live in Ontario? I live in Nova Scotia and I can see benefit in the job market here, but was unsure if the program was tailored to working in Ontario. As well, would a field placement be able to be completed if I was not in Ontario?
So in regards to the field placement question, yes, you can definitely complete the placement anywhere in Canada. Before the pandemic, I actually had a student who was all set to do a placement in Yukon, so going up to the territories and doing a placement there. However, with the pandemic, that of course had to change, but that is an example of how you can do it anywhere. In regards to the curriculum, it is a little more geared towards Ontario. However, there are definite components that would be applicable regardless of what province you're in. But with that being said, there was a point where there was a student who was from Alberta and they were planning on taking the program. It didn't end up panning out for them, but I was fully prepared and I'd already started learning more about Alberta resources. And I was fully prepared to make sure that we were able to modify and incorporate that. So depending on if you are in a different province, like I mentioned, I'm very student-centered. So I will work with you and I will also network and make utilization of the contacts that I have here in Ontario and see if they have connections in other provinces. And so we would build that together. Again, keeping in mind that there are different skills that would definitely be applicable. So we learn things like assessments, doing different types of assessments, care conferences. We learn about how to talk to a doctor, how to advocate for yourself. So a lot of those topics are going to apply regardless of the province you're in. But when it comes to those guest speakers and Ontario specific resources, I would definitely make sure that you are doing Nova Scotia related components. So hopefully that answers your question.
And you can directly talk to Melanie. It doesn't have to go through me. Just be mindful that perhaps use the raise hand icon so I can call your name out so we're not speaking over each other. But yeah, if you, all the attendees, if you feel comfortable, just go ahead, raise your hand. We'll just go in order. But I have the next question from Anastasia to everybody. Is this a program that can be to other college students with similar education? I suppose she's asking if this program can be used by other college students with similar education. Would there be a partnership with other colleges? And I don't know if Anastasia is referring to a comparable agreement that we have with Cambrian. So she's asking, would there be a partnership with social work programs or mental health and addiction programs with other colleges? I guess that's her question. Oh, she can explain. Go ahead, Anastasia, if you want to unmute yourself.
For sure. I guess the one thing I'm looking at, I know Melanie had talked to you previously about this too. For some students like myself, where I previously have a college background from Canada College in North Bay with mental health and addictions and social services, the one thing that many students, even I've talked to, have looked at is wanting to update their skills with programs like this navigation one as they've started to work in the field. And the one thing I'm asking too, I know this presentation specifically is in partnership with the gerontology program at Laurentian, but is this something that Cambrian would be looking at for other students too from college, that they could apply to this program and be able to take it right now? or is that something you're looking at for other years?
So this program is open to anyone and everyone who has a diploma or degree. This is the gerontology program from Laurentian is our first official partnership. It takes a lot of work and time to make the partnership official. So this just happens to be the first one that we have, in which, you know, you don't have to be sending me all of the different course outlines from previous colleges. If you've got your proof that you have a gerontology degree, you automatically are exempt from certain courses. But if you're coming from a different background, then it'll be more on a case by case. Ideally, I would love to create more partnerships across the province, and that is something that I'm definitely hoping to do in collaboration with the dean. But for now, the only official partnership we have is with gerontology. However, again, it really depends on your background. So for example, I have a student right now who took psychology at Laurentian, and even though we don't have a formal partnership with the psychology program, she was able to be exempt from certain courses based on her psychology degree. So that was just a conversation that we had on a one-on-one basis. So I don't know if that's clarifying what you're looking for.
Yes, that does help a lot. I know even myself and some of my the other students that I've worked with have even just mentioned that before, wishing there was kind of a program that could help even just update the skills. As like some of us, we took social services a couple of years ago now, just as I'm in my second to third year of this gerontology program too. And quite often when working, even some work from Métis Nation in the communities and stuff too, have said they wish they had that course to even just bring some of those resources together, understand how to talk with doctors or help some of their other clients with services that are quite confusing. And I was just wondering if this is something too that I could suggest to them at this time to look forward to maybe taking to help them with that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have students with a social service work background. I have one who's actually a social work background from Trent. And so she was exempt from certain courses. Again, we don't have an official agreement with them, but we were able to make that happen. And then I also have social service work graduates from Cambrian, and they also become exempt from different courses. With that being said, though, there's also the possibility of prior learning assessment and recognition. So if you've been working in the field for a nice chunk of time and you feel that this particular course in the program, even though you don't have a course that you've taken, you feel that your field experience would exempt you from needing to take that course. That is a process. There is a fee involved in that particular process, and there is an assessment that you would have to successfully pass in order to officially prove that you have that equivalent knowledge. So that's another possible avenue that you could take.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That really helps to clear up a lot of stuff as well.
Oh, good, I'm glad. So I'm seeing another question here in the chat. So we're just wondering if you can give examples as to where placement may take place. Yes, definitely. So just to give you a little kind of background about placement, the way that I do this is in the first semester, I have an assignment where you are starting to do some preliminary research as to what agencies you might want to work with, what type of sectors you might want to work in, and you kind of put them in order of preference so that once January comes along, I have a good sense of what you're looking for. And I try my best to meet your placement interests and needs. So there's so many options for placement. So we've had students who have done placements at a Canadian Mental Health Association. Before the pandemic happened, I had a placement set up for Pioneer Manor. Unfortunately, we couldn't proceed with that due to the pandemic, but we actually created a formal agreement. So that would be a possibility. So different types of long-term care homes. It really depends on your particular interests. I have one student who is exploring doing a placement with a private navigation business, and they have a wide range of clientele, including quite a large population of older adults, and navigating different needs and things like long-term care and how do you go about that, and that is completely private sector. I've had students who have done placement with a psychiatrist. So the psychiatrist kind of oversees the whole business, but then they have counselors who do different Zoom therapies, and the student was able to participate. So it really, really depends on the sector, the population, but whatever you're interested in, I will look and try to make it happen. And if not, we will try to come up with something as close as possible to what you're looking for. So it really can be anything, anything. Alzheimer's Society, that's another example. We had a student who was supposed to do it in person, but because of the pandemic, they weren't able to. However, the Alzheimer's Society was really great in being able to accommodate a virtual placement. As an example of one of our online placements that might be of relevance to students in this program is Cyber Seniors. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it is a platform where seniors can get assistance in regards to technology. So students actually either do Zoom calls or phone calls with seniors from across North America, and they help them based on their goals, whether it's learning how to use an email, whatever it may be. They also have group educational workshops that students can lead, and then they have a social support group where it's an opportunity for everyone to kind of get together and kind of like a friendly phone call type of environment. So those are just some examples. Again, the possibilities are truly endless.
Thank you, Melanie. Any other questions, comments?
The other thing, oh, sorry. One thing that I can mention too is if anybody wants to talk directly to a student who's currently in the program, I can always check to see if a couple of the Gero grads would be open to chatting with you. And if you want to maybe do like an email exchange, that's something that I've done for some students previously, and getting them connected with the students so they can directly speak to them, and just get a better sense from that student perspective. So if that is something that is of interest, I'll definitely check with my current students or my former grad, Tony, and see if I can connect you. So you can definitely send me an email if that is something that you think might help you in determining if this is something you want to pursue.
Just some additional feedback to what Melanie is saying. I know Tony as well, but I also know a couple of other students who have gone from our program and done the Navigator program with Cambrian. They're all employed in different places, and they all seem to be very, very glad that they did this program. It just opened a lot of more opportunities for them. And they actually ended up having different kinds, but perhaps more job offers than they thought they would have, based on their previous experiences. So it's a great program. It does help out with the employment market, and it's an important missing link in our systems anyway. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, thank you for your support of the program. It's really nice. I find too that sometimes people will hear the name and they'll think, oh, community health service navigation, that's for nurses. Or they'll make an assumption and they don't understand or appreciate the depth of information that we cover, and also that customization component. So if you're considering it and what I've said is of interest to you, I hope you do keep it in mind. And I'm more than happy to stay in touch and connected with any one of you who want to explore further. I'm open to chatting on the phone, email, Zoom calls, whatever's best for you. Because again, I find that students who take the program, they usually have done quite a lot of research prior, and then they really kind of immerse themselves in the program, and we become like a really tight knit group. So it's a nice experience.
Well, if anyone has more questions for Melanie, or if you wish to review this presentation again, what I will do is I will make it accessible as a private YouTube video, which means you'd have to email me to get access to it to be able to view it. But I have Melanie's contact information as well. So if you want to revisit this topic or to get a hold of Melanie, just contact me directly. Of course, I can put Melanie's information in the chat window. Is that okay, Melanie? I can just put your contact information. I'll
Oh,
put it
yes, for
there if
sure.
you want to go ahead and note it down or take a screenshot or whatever it is that you want. What that will do, there we go. So you can contact Melanie one of several different ways, and you can access this presentation as well. Thanks again, Melanie. And if last call for questions, I would say maybe if I don't see any raised hands or comments in the chat window, well, thank Melanie for her time and for talking to us about the Community Navigator program. I think it's a great program.
Yes, and thank you again. Very warm and welcoming. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the questions. And oh, I'm seeing a raised hand.
Yes, we have a question. In the nick of time, Momina, go ahead.
Sorry, just the last minute question. I just wanted to ask. So you said that there is an option if you wanted to start in January. So would we have to contact you for that, or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So it would be too late to start in this January, but if you were looking at for January 2022, yeah, that is something that you'd have to connect with me one-on-one, and then we can look and see whether we can make that happen for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, Melanie, thanks again. And I hope many of our students are able to take advantage of the program just because it's offered in so many different ways, and it's a valuable addition. Lots of folks thanking you on the chat window. I guess you can take a look at that.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right. Take care, everybody. And some of you, I'll see you in class, and others, we will cross paths sometime. All right. Take care. Thanks,
Bye,
Melanie.
everyone. Thank you.